Welcome into another Locked On NBA Insider Report, this time for the NBA Draft Lottery. Jackson Gatlin joining us from Locked On Rockets. They had one of the highest percentages, right? Ping pong balls were supposed to be kind to them. They were going to get one of the top three picks. They did get one of the top three picks, but it is three. So obviously when you're in the mix, is it a little bit of disappointment, or are you just happy that you're in the top three?
There's maybe that little bit of disappointment where you were thinking, as soon as it was revealed that they were going to be at least in the top four, right? The worst case scenario would have been falling all the way to pick number 5. They had a, solid percentage chance, almost a 50-50 shot at falling all the way down to pick number 5. Once it was revealed and we cut to commercial break and you're like, okay, they made it to top 4. Great. And then maybe you start to get a little greedy and you're like, all right, it's not number 4. Okay. Can it be number 1? But that said, falling pick number 3 is a win for this Houston Rockets team because it means you have your choice of at least one of Jabari Smith Jr., Paolo Banchero, or Chet Holmgren. One of those 3 guys will be available at pick number 3. Who that guy is remains to be seen, but having a chance at just one of those guys is huge for Houston.
And it's not a bad year because, as you mentioned, there's no one that everybody's like, this is the guy, right? So there's a couple different people depending on which team, different lists have those 3 ranked in different order, right? So for Houston, there's a chance that their guy might be available. Who that is, we don't know. Is there someone you think personally would make, a good impact on this team right out of the gate that you could see being a good fit?
It's crazy. I think each one of those 3 guys, the 3 bigs at the top, all have their pros and cons to them. For me, I've consistently mocked either Jabari or Chet Holmgren as the best fits right out of the gate for the Houston Rockets. And I think if you look around the NBA landscape, there's kind of across consensus mock drafts, you've got a lot of people placing Jabari or Chet at number 1, and then whoever's not at number 1 at number 2. Those are kind of the more so consensus top 2 guys, with Paolo often falling into that 3 spot. So, but the more that I look at it now with the Orlando Magic coming away with the number 1 overall pick, I don't think it's a given that one of Jabari or Chet goes to Orlando. And I do think that there's still a chance that the Rockets could potentially walk away with one of Jabari or Chet down at number 3. That said, Paolo Banchero is still an incredibly dynamic player. And if he's the guy that's there at number 3 when the Rockets are making their selection, it's still a huge get for this organization.
When you talk about a team like Houston, where you're unfortunately in this section of the draft lottery a couple years in a row, so what are you just really trying to add? Do they have an identity that they're trying to add a certain type of player? Are you taking best available no matter what, or are you just trying to get some athleticism and just kind of grow this team?
I think the Rockets have embodied a really good draft philosophy so far, in the post James Harden era. And that's just trying to find the best talent available, right? They're just trying to get guys, under their roof that they think have a shot to be very talented NBA players. Rafael Stone speaks so highly about that. They're not looking for a specific niche fit or anything. They're just trying to find guys who can play basketball, and then they're going to mold the team around those players. So with pick number 3, that's the exact direction I expect them to go. I don't, expect them to look at Paolo Banchero and be like, oh, well, if he doesn't fit with Alper and Şengün in the front court, we're not going to take him. They're going to take the most talented guy that they have highest on their board, whoever is available at pick number 3.
Is there any possibility of them trading this pick, or would that be like the shock of the century to you?
That would absolutely be shocking. I kind of mocked it out on my show that if they landed picks 1, 2, 3, they were going to probably keep it. Like 99.9% certain they're keeping this pick. They're drafting whoever's there. Had they fallen to 4 or 5, I think it becomes a bit more of a question mark, some gray area as to whether or not they maybe consider trading down a little bit and trying to recoup some either future draft value or shuffling some picks around in this year's NBA draft to maybe get, a couple of those tier 2 guys if they weren't super enamored with one of Jaden Ivey or Shaedon Sharpe, kind of the guys mocked at around 4 and 5 in this year's draft. But I think picks 1 through 3 safely, the Houston Rockets would have, held onto that and will be actually picking in that spot. So they landed number 3. They're probably going to make that pick.
All right, we'll see who they end up actually getting. Jackson Gatlin, thank you for joining us. Check out Locked On Rockets for full analysis, of course, of the NBA draft lottery picks. For Houston, I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On NBA.